Who's watching Sean Combs' The Reckoning? Because we need to talk about episode 3, Official Girl. They said he knew how to take a woman and change her life overnight. Combs is seen talking to some woman who is his recent girlfriend on FaceTime days before his arrest. Okay. Tim said Misa was his first project and built Misa to be in Janice's image. Yeah. Okay. Misa would call Kirk and figure out where's her money for her son. Because Combs, I guess, was not paying the monies for their son. Okay. At this time, he was developing a life with Kim Porter. So at this point, she ain't with Albie no more, and now she's with him. Albie Shore said, if you get with him, make sure you marry him because he's gonna have a lot of money. And also make sure you have kids with him. That's what he told her. So what? Anyways, Kim was known not to be played with. Okay. She wasn't here for the shenanigans and she was not here for what the hell he was talking about. But the bodyguard did say that he never witnessed Combs assaulting her, but was outside the rooms where the assaults were happening. So he never saw it, but he heard it. So in 1997, after Biggie's death, Bad Boy skyrocket. Okay. They said any deal that Diddy or Combs would do, he would be the face of it and be at the center. Think Sean John and think Ciroc. Okay. Now, December 1999, there is a club pew pewing. Yes, this is the one with him and J Lo. Okay. They said that they went to the club and Shine was also at the club. Okay. There was a Brooklyn dude who had beef with Combs. Okay. They said they exchanged some words. Next thing you know, Pew Pews came out. Natanya Rubens, she claimed that Combs, aka Diddy, is the one that pew pewed her in the face. I think she also had like a leg cast going on, so I don't know if she also got pew pewed in the leg. But anyways, she said that he and Shine had pew pews. Someone else in the documentary said they overheard him asking his driver to take the fall for it when they were leaving the club. Yeah. Okay. 8 months earlier, he was in trouble also for another possible felony. Hezekiah Walker told Puff that he shouldn't be basically mocking Christ because there's a video with him and Nas where Puff is on the cross depicting that he's Christ, honey. We'll get to what he says about him and Jesus later on. But he was like, you shouldn't be doing this. Okay. So he's like, oh my gosh. Okay. So he goes to Stout, who is like a music producer or something, and tells him, you cannot run this music video and you need to take these scenes out where I'm on this cross because it is blasphemous. Okay. Stout, he said, I ain't doing that. It stays in, sir. We ain't got time for your little religious mess. Okay. So there were two bodyguards by his side. Okay. They beat the hell out of that man. Stout suffered a broken jaw and a broken arm. He was in the hospital. Okay. Combs said he didn't break no bones. Well, did the two men with you break them? Because somebody in that office broke this man's jaw and his arm. Okay. The problem was Stout would not cooperate with the police because they had like filed charges, to do the whole thing. But if they don't have a person who's going to cooperate, then what are they going to do? But him and Combs settled out of court for $500,000. But I don't think you did anything. Why would you need to pay for things you didn't do? Now back to the club pew pewing. Okay, now we're on trial for the club pew pew. Diddy, he got Johnny Cochran on his side. Okay, and Shine had some lawyers that Diddy paid for. Yeah, they told the court that Shine had fired his pew pew, okay, in self defense, and that Combs didn't have no pew pew. That's not what the lawyers, Shine's lawyer said, but that's what the other lawyer said. Okay, so Combs, he gets off scot free. He's acquitted, no issues. Shine, on the other hand, okay, he gets 10 years in jail. Shine also said that he went to the judge 3 times to complain about his lawyers. He said that they would ask like 1 or 2 questions to people on the stand and be like, okay, that's it, and go sit back down. Or they would ask like dumb questions or say dumb things. And he's like, what the hell is going on? They didn't really specify a timeline, but at some point he starts losing his most profitable artists. I guess they're going to other labels who actually going to pay them. He then shifts to start creating Making the Band. Okay, so we have three bands that come out of Making the Band: the band, Danny Kane, that was my group, honey. Okay, and Zay 26. So they have Babs, who was in the band. Okay, she said they gave her like a stack of paperwork this big and said, you got 24 hours to sign this paperwork. Her lawyer, thank the Lord Jesus Christ, she had a lawyer. She didn't really listen to him, but she had a lawyer, read the paperwork, and they said, look, you were getting promised fame, but not fame and fortune. She said, good enough for me, sign it away. Girl. At this point, Making the Band is number one on MTV. So now he has really become this crossover like artist and crossover figure because MTV, of course, is the like number one uh white music station, of course. So now these people are seeing him, his music, and his bands, and especially with Danny Kane, they were very pop. So now he's able to reach a pop audience, which he wasn't able to reach before. A few years before this, he launched Sean John. He was making $300 to $400 million a year. Yeah. So back to Making the Band. These were young kids or young adults, shall I say. They were also fans of his, and he would humiliate them so that they would fear him. They did talk about Aubrey O'Day, and there was another executive there that said like Aubrey O'Day had it harder than anyone else. And she said that, she said there was a different set of rules for her. He often commented and told her that she was the looker. So she's the face, the beauty of the group. Okay. And so she had a different set of expectations. There was also grooming that took place with her as well. He would also send her sexually explicit emails, including pictures of his member, okay, with God bless at the end. This man is a menace. As she's getting these emails, she's not really responding or giving into any of these like schmexual situations. 6 months later, she is fired. He's basically like, you're difficult, this and the third. It played out on the TV, but she is fired later on. 2009, he then made his own group, Dirty Money. It's Diddy and Dirty Money. Okay, this has Kalina Harper and Don Richardson from Danity Kane. Kalina said that Don and Sean's relationship was weird. There was like this unspoken thing between them, and they weren't in a relationship because Cassie was there, but it was something going on. 2006 is where he meets Cassie. Cassie is 19 at the time. Okay. So this is when she comes into the picture. At the time, she is dating Ryan Leslie, who is another artist and producer. Okay. At first, Cassie was in the studio with Combs, Ryan Leslie, and herself. Eventually, no more Ryan Leslie. Okay. They also mentioned that Combs signed her to a 10-album deal. Cassie girl, I love you, but 10 albums, let's be fucking for real. He eventually does the Ciroc deal, which they offered him $100 million for the year for moving a certain amount of units because they were only doing like 20, like 30 or 40,000. And they were like, if you can move 100, here you go. Yeah. Now, in the beginning, when he was dating Cassie, Kim was around as well, and she just kind of dealt with his little side chick, Cassie. Okay. But when Kim was around, she didn't want Cassie around. Okay. She said, not on my watch. Eventually, Kim and Combs divorce. Okay. Cassie then becomes number one and becomes his trophy and keeps promising her that she's going to have another album, which she did not have. Okay. 2009, Clayton Howard goes to a hotel room. He a little, okay. He was hired, so he thought, to please this woman, and her husband was going to watch. They had certain proclivities about them. Okay. When Cassie answered the door, she had on a red wig, he said, and was like, her husband likes to watch this and the third. He said it was about 10 bottles of Ciroc in there on this first encounter, okay? And that her husband came in, he had a t-shirt wrapped around and he was doing this weird country accent. He said it was creepy. And then he would sit in the corner and just watch. He said it was a whole bunch of baby oil. We know this man likes baby oil. Okay, he was said he had to get doused in it. He said he did it regular, and then she just him down. Okay. Also said that she couldn't do anything without his permission. So she had to ask to do everything, whether it was like, can we start having the schmecks now? Can I do this? Blah blah blah. And he would either say yes or no. He also said during this time, if any song came on, he told the woman, turn that shit off immediately. Yeah. As the relationship progressed between the three of these people, Combs started to record these sessions. Now, where these tapes at, I don't know. He started recording these sessions, okay? He would say he would go like multiple times and lasted like 2 days, okay? And he got $6,000 for those 2 days, okay? That's a nice little coin. I'm not doing that type of work, but okay, sir. Anyways, he said he would see them every like 2 to 3 weeks, and he was doing this for about 8 years. At one point, he said that they were collecting his semen, okay, over the course of a year. He finally asked because he thought it was weird, like, why are we doing this? And Combs said he liked to watch Cassie drink it and play with it. After he asked, they stopped collecting it. He said he would get flown to LA, Miami, and wherever they were in this world on March 9th, which is the anniversary of Biggie's death. He was also with them, partying, schmexing for days at a time. As again, the relationship progresses, he said Combs started to join in and they would take turns having the schmecks with Cassie. Okay. He also said that he was trying to figure out how they were going on these benders for like days at a time, no sleep. He's like, ooh, child, it's like the Energizer Bunny over here. And Cassie was the one to give him his first ecstasy pill. Okay. And then at that point, he was again another Energizer Bunny that joined the group. Okay. Kirk, he does reiterate that Combs was not a drinker or a drug person. He feels like the catalyst for him starting to do drugs was when he slit his wrist. Now, there's a lot of commotion about what happened with this whole wrist incident, but it was between him and Kim Porter. And apparently, they're saying that, no, it wasn't, but he knew that Kirk, he said he was called to get a doctor to patch up his wrist after a fight with Kim. So he was like, whatever happened, it was at that point, and then he got addicted to, I think, Percocet. Clayton claims this is the gigolo, okay, that they used to lace the baby oil with GHB. Okay, he said that I think Cassie told him this. Okay, and he's like, in a session that lasted 3 to 4 days, they'd go through about 10 bottles of baby oil. That just seems like a mess. He did say that he witnessed Cassie being assaulted, and every time she would be assaulted, she would run out of the room. Someone would go get her, whether it was Combs or someone else, bring her back. Then she and Combs would go in the room for about 30 to 45 minutes. Cassie would come out and act like nothing happened. They did have one of his former bodyguards. His name is Roger. He did state that when he first started working with Combs, he really liked him. And he said that's because he didn't know who he was. Roger also stated that Combs was known for using the culture for when he needed it, but he didn't really like the culture from where he came from. I.e., they show him in Harlem days before his arrest amongst the people. And Roger stated that he's actually uncomfortable around a lot of Black people, which kind of makes sense because he went to that Catholic school. I'm just saying. Fast forward 2016, okay, there's the Bad Boy reunion tour. Kalina says this is the last time she saw Cassie, and Kalina was pregnant. Cassie told her, that's what I want. Speaking of the pregnancy, the marriage, and all this other stuff. Kalina thinks that Cassie finally realized that, like, Combs would never marry her and never give her a baby. Fast forward to November 16th, 2023. Cassie accuses Combs of rape and physical abuse. Okay, so the lawsuit comes out. And after that, the lawsuits came flooding in. Okay, she was just the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess. More than 100 civil cases have been filed alleging sexual assaults and misconduct. As of the airing of the documentary, we have 77 cases that are pending. Combs and Cassie denied that the baby oil was laced with any drugs. Okay, let me know. Are you watching Sean Combs' Reckoning and what are you thinking? Because this thing is wild. Okay.